This is the OnePlus 8 Pro, and it's almost perfect. So first thing I want to throw out there that a lot of people have been concerned about is the green tint issues with the display. I gotta tell you, I haven't had any problems with that, so that's as far as I'm gonna go there. But now for the display, this is a 6.78 inch display. Now at first I was completely against this. I had an S10 Plus and I thought that was the maximum. I didn't think any phone should be any bigger, it would just be unusable. But you know what, when I came to using this, it's practically the same in terms of using it because the extra size comes from the height, not the width. So it's not too wide and it's easy to use with one hand in that sense. It's just quite tall, but you don't really ever need to go to the top of your phone that much. All phones have just been optimized now to work more in the bottom, so you don't need to reach up all the way to the top. But other than 6.78 inches, it is an AMOLED display, and everyone knows it's a 120 Hz display. This is obviously awesome. This is the first 120 Hz display I've used. It makes a 60 Hz phone feel slow, and that's kind of a downside, but you know what? That makes this phone feel really good. And with that, you get a 240 Hz touch response. And what this 240 Hz touch response means is basically it makes the phone feel like it's reacting instantly to your touch, because its sense to your touch is refreshing 240 times in a second, and that's even faster than the way the screen responds. So the screen is constantly responding to your touch at a really accurate speed. So that makes it feel really fast, on top of the fact that it's got 120 Hz. So that's awesome. And this is actually one of the reasons that iPhones could feel a little bit faster than Androids. Even though they both would have 60 Hz, iPhones would have a 120 Hz touch response, which made it feel much faster to the other Androids, which had 60 Hz touch response. But now that OnePlus had the 120 Hz screen and a 240 Hz touch response, that really adds to the experience. And on top of that, you're getting a Quad HD display, and if you want to be fancy about it, this means 3K or 1440p with better haptics. These haptics compete with iPhones, and if you don't know what haptics are basically the vibration that the display gives. Now this isn't the vibration that you get from a phone when you have a notification. No, this is when you click a button on the screen, and instead of just giving you sound as feedback, it also gives you a bit of a vibration that feels like you're clicking. And basically, the more satisfying the click, the better the haptics. So super glad that OnePlus worked on that, because it makes it feel less cheap and more premium by quite a bit. And so talking about the display, in replacement of the pop-up camera from the OnePlus 7 Pro, we're now getting a punch hole cutout. I don't know how I feel about this. I probably would have preferred the pop-up camera. It's just cooler and it looks better, but in comparison to any other hole punch, this is my favorite hole punch. It just works the best in collaboration with the other display specs. It's the smallest, it's the least distracting. Not that any punch hole cutout is distracting, but for a punch hole, this is my favorite one. And for the final piece of hardware for the display, that is the in-display fingerprint. This is simply my favorite in-display fingerprint. There's nothing like groundbreaking about it. I mean, it's just a fingerprint scanner, but it is the fastest and it doesn't fail on me at all. It works pretty much 100% of the time, so I'm all for this fingerprint. Now, something that's worth mentioning for the software side of things of the display, this doesn't have an always-on display, which is disappointing because OnePlus wouldn't be the type not to give you something this simple and expected, but they're not giving this to you. So they will do this soon, but it's not there yet, so they should have done that, but whatever. Not too important considering that it's coming. Now, something that was really annoying, and I'm not sure if this will be fixed in the software update, but basically because the whole display turns off, the fingerprint is just not ready to be used. So you have to turn the screen on first and then scan your finger, which means you have to double tap or something, and you can't just directly place your thumb into the correct area or whatever. So that was really annoying. It's a small thing, but Samsung have done it the whole time, and I was used to that, and I couldn't do that because for some reason OnePlus didn't add that. But while the fingerprint is a great option, you also get face unlock as an option. Now this isn't super secure. I don't know how secure this is, but it's not super secure because all it's using is the front camera. It's not using any infrared dots or any of that stuff that the iPhone does, which is actually actually scientific and accurate. This is picture based. But I can tell you it is secure enough to identify whether it's scanning a photo or a real person. But what's great about this is it is super fast. I mean, it is crazy fast. Sometimes by the time you've even pressed the power button, it's already on as if it wasn't scanning anything. So that's amazing. What I like to do is I like to use both fingerprint and face unlock, and a more convenient one will just come. Now, build quality, wow. This is my favorite built Android phone, hands down. It's better than an iPhone, and Apple makes the best built tech products in the market. So, OnePlus, nice going. By the way, you think all these shots are serious, professional, good looking and all that. Let me just let you in on what exactly is going on behind the scenes.
Lots of bunnies by Ray Bunnies. Oh no, that's a girl. I don't like girls, we only like bunnies. Oh, okay, bunnies was not the right thing to search. Remove that from your search.
Anyway, continuing with the video. Talking about the build, OnePlus are still rocking the physical alert slider, which moves from vibrate to silent to ring. Pure respect. This is super useful, so pure respect. Now, as expected, you're getting the Snapdragon 865 as fast as it should be, but this is fast. This is faster than any Android phone ever, and I don't know how long this speed is gonna last, but I've come to notice that everything OnePlus is about is speed, right? When they wanted to add wireless charging, they were like, yo, it has to be fast enough, and they only did things until they were fast enough. Google Assistant pops up straight away. Using the phone is super fluid, and that is obviously the processor in collaboration with the 120Hz display as well. It's just a combination of everything makes this phone feel so premium and snappy and fast and to the point. Opening apps, all of that. It's about speed. And alongside that, this is the most optimized skin on top of Android ever. This is better than stock Android on the Pixels. This is amazing. A lot of Androids, even Samsung, have problems where some features just don't seem like they're meant to be there because the skin didn't prepare for them. Whereas Oxygen OS is like an iPhone in a sense which 99% of everything flows perfectly. For example, there's this app locker feature where you can lock apps. It works, man. It doesn't feel like it was just bloated and not well thought of. Even Samsung have this issue. OnePlus, amazing. And on top of that, you're getting amazing customization with Oxygen OS to start off with. But this is the best version of Android to use a launcher with. And if you want to check out how I set up my OnePlus 8 Pro video to look the way it looks, the video's in the top right corner. But whether you want to use the standard Oxygen OS home screen, which is fine, but using a launcher with this guy works so well because it flows and it seems like the launcher is a part of the software to start off with because it is so well optimized. And while we're on the subject of software, I just wanted to mention that the 8 Pro is using Google Keyboard, and Google Keyboard doesn't have a number row on the main keyboard unless you directly go to the separate number panel. I know this isn't directly a OnePlus issue, but they're using it and it's bugging me. Also, something is there should be a clear button for notifications. Instead of having to individually swipe off each notification, there should be a clear button. That's kind of simple. And something that was really annoying is there's no toggle for dark mode. If you want to turn off and on dark mode, you got to go into the settings, then customization, something else, press OK, and there you go. There's nothing that you can quickly press in the quick panel like most phones. And just a recommendation, I think OnePlus should add something like the side panel that Samsung have, because this is a really useful feature. And as they're all about speed, this just adds to that. Now, going back to hardware side of things, I just wanted to mention the SIM card tray is made in this way in which it's super secure, and when you take the SIM out, it's not going to fall out, so that's kind of cool. And as most people know, this now has an IP68 water and dust resistance rating, basically meaning it can be underwater for a meter for 30 minutes. And for battery life, you're getting a 4510 milliamp hour battery, and the battery life on this guy, even with 120 hertz on, is beautiful. It's amazing. And I'll give you some numbers on the screen right now for how long it's lasting me. I'm really impressed with the battery life, and I can just imagine that if I was to take down the screen resolution or the refresh rate, then I would get even better battery life. So thumbs up there. And having a look at the charging, this guy has Warp Charge 30T, so this means 60% charge in 30 minutes, and it is amazing. I've seen my phone go down to 1% I plug it in, I forget about it for about 10 minutes, I'm already on like 20%, something like that, where it's usable, and it's just charging is no longer something that you have to worry about, because even if it is on a low percentage, you can still charge it and it's good. And now secondly, it has 30-watt wireless charging, which is called Warp Charge 30 wireless, which gives you 50% in 25 minutes, but there's a catch. You have to buy their 70-pound wireless charger. Now, this guy does support Qi wireless charging, but it only supports 5-watt Qi wireless charging. So if you got like a nice 15-watt Qi wireless charger, yeah, screw that, you're only getting 5 watts out of it. Though the exception to that 5-watt rule is the Pixel stand, which will give you 10 watts of wireless charging. So you can kind of see what OnePlus are doing there. And on top of all this, a nice extra feature is reverse wireless charging. So you can charge your earphones, another phone if you want to, but earphones is actually the functional feature if you're having a look at reverse wireless charging, so that's cool. Now, something that's worth bearing in mind in terms of future-proofing is that every single OnePlus 8 series device that came out this year supports 5G. So even though 5G isn't super big yet, it will be ready for you when 5G is ready. Now, for me personally, this is where OnePlus and Samsung tend to be quite close most of the time, but I definitely give the edge to OnePlus this year in terms of design. This is my favorite Android design yet, with the exception of the punch hole. On top of course, the build quality and feeling premium, it looks premium as well, and it looks nice. And something that a lot of people have been hating on is the curved edges, and I don't know why people dislike it. I think it's kind of a functional thing, but I've never had any problems with accidental touches or any of that. Maybe it's because I'm used to having used this S10 Plus, but it looks good and it doesn't take any compromises for me. They're not as curved as the 7 Pro, which were a little bit too much to be honest, but they are more than something like the S10, and I think it was a nice balance. An Onyx Black version came out to look much better than I thought. I kind of still wish it was in a matte option, but this actually, it wasn't that bad. But this does mean it's a complete fingerprint magnet. The fingerprints on this guy just are too much, to a point where I've given up using a microfiber cloth. And the Onyx version is actually quite slippery. So if you've seen my unboxing, if you saw the second I took it out the wrapping, I nearly dropped it because of how slippery it was. Unboxing is in the top right corner, by the way. But along with this, you get options like the matte glacial green color and the matte ultramarine blue, so whatever you're into there. And final design thing I want to talk about is the camera bump. Usually when YouTubers are like, yo, the camera bump's too big, blah blah blah, I think they're kind of over exaggerating, but I remember the second I was done with the unboxing, I placed it on a surface and it looked so unstable. It was kind of, it just made me a little bit anxious. It's actually not that bad, but what kind of concerns me is if you're placing it on harder surfaces over time, you might scratch or damage the lens a little bit. So I thought that was worth mentioning. For the speakers, they're okay, and there's nothing special about it. I did a speaker test in my unboxing video, so remember, link below, top right corner, all that. But now let's talk about the cameras. So you're getting 4 cameras. You're getting a main camera, which is 48 megapixels with a 1-inch Sony sensor. This means that the sensor is large, which means you're going to get a shallower depth of field, basically meaning you're going to get more natural blur in the background, kind of like portrait mode, but it's natural with no software work. Now, what's worth mentioning here is even though it's got a shallow depth of field, it's got a really thin depth of field, basically meaning the section in which the camera is focused on is really thin. So if you're taking a picture of a flower, for example, then not all of the main part of the flower may be in focus, because the flower might have a bit of depth, might come out a little bit forward depending on the petals and all that. So it's really, really thin. So that can be a bit of a problem, and it has its ups and downs. I do like the way it looks though. I like it especially with videos. It's great if you want to start filming YouTube reviews and stuff, because you've got a nice shallow depth of field and it looks really professional. But yeah, that's worth bearing in mind. And then you got a 48 megapixel wide angle with a 3 centimeter macro mode, which isn't bad, and it has a 120 degree field of view. And then you get a 3 times hybrid zoom, which is 8 megapixels, and you get 30 times digital zoom, which, you know, you shouldn't use. And then finally, which is kind of a gimmick, they put a color filter camera, which is 5 megapixels. It's a terrible camera as a camera, but we've come to find that it actually works as an X-ray camera, which is so cool. So if you have a product which is made of thin black plastic like the Apple TV or a TV remote, then it will probably be able to see through it. So that's really cool. It's worth mentioning. I'm kind of impressed by it. 4K 60, 1080p at 240 frames per second if you want to shoot slow-mo, so it's where it should be. And for the front camera, it's 16 megapixels. And that's the camera. Now, this guy is a flagship, so you're getting a flagship like price. You're getting this guy for the base model at either £800 or $900, which isn't too bad considering the fact that the 4G S20, not the S20 Plus, not the S20 Ultra, just the small S20 in 4G is the same price as the base model OnePlus 8 Pro in the UK. So in comparison to other flagships, this is at the lower end, but it is a pricey phone and it is a flagship. So, for my conclusion, this phone has nearly convinced me that the next phone I'm going to buy is a OnePlus phone. It won't be this time because I'm not loaded with money and I'm already using the S10, but so far this is my favorite phone to use, mainly because of the optimized software. There's nothing like it, especially on Android. The speed and the build quality and the design makes this phone feel really premium. And the only question mark which makes me nearly convinced and not actually convinced is the camera, yet again, with some other small minor things. But overall, they give me the best user experience ever, because like I said, if you haven't noticed, they're all about the speed. Facial recognition is fast. If you want to turn on the flashlight, just do a VN lock screen. If you want to change the ringer, just do it straight away from the side of the phone. You want to use a wireless charger, do it in 25 minutes. You want to use a nice phone, it's going to be 120 Hz. And because of that, they're reliable. So this phone is almost perfect. This is the OnePlus 8 Pro, and that is it. So that's the conclusion. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe. The channel's small and I'm trying to grow it. I'm doing my absolute best and I would really appreciate it. Also, check out my Instagram and Twitter at El-Naggar. That's where I'm posting a lot of sorts of tech related stuff and behind the scenes perspective of what's coming up in my next video, or if I want feedback or your opinion on what I should do for my thumbnail for an upcoming video, anything like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.